What's up, y'all? We're live and we're ready to rock and roll on this thing. I'm Brian.
Fearless here. Hold on.
And on today's episode of the Trial and Error podcast, we're going to talk about the importance of mission statements. And me and Fearless are gonna kind of sort through how you can use these mission statements to achieve some of your goals and really kind of alter the trajectory of what you got planned for your life. So that's what we got on today's episode. I don't have an intro to throw it to since we already rolled the intro. So Fearless, if you want to get started on it,
yeah, for sure,
I'll catch up.
For sure. So the main reason why I wanted to touch on this is because as most of you know, I do Ask Fearless every night. And tonight we're on now I'm actually breaking everything up in seasons or whatever. So like before it was just shoot it and just go. Now I'm actually going, okay, well, if you have 100 shows you're gonna do, how many do you have right now? I'm like, well, right now I got this. Tonight's the 19th episode. Cool. So we'll do season 2, episode 19. So tomorrow will be season 3, and then we'll just shoot every 10 is a new season or whatever. And the thing that I love about the Trial and Error show that we have going on here is that I take this everywhere that I go. Yeah. Oh, hey.
All done here, sir.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna bring you back the right size filter. I brought the wrong size.
All right. See, I mean, even in real life, this shit works, right? So, and so one of the things that I love so much about what Brian and I do is that I can take the name, just the name of our show, and I can put this towards any and everything that I do. Hold on, let me make sure my camera is on.
Oh, and make sure your Facebook thing is public too.
Yeah, it is. Hold on. Thank you, kind sir. I consistently keep forgetting about that.
I did that yesterday too, and that's part of the trial and error thing. This is live. This is live TV, folks. You know.
Hey, what's up, John? How's it going, buddy?
I consistently keep forgetting about that. So it's live TV, folks. And
yeah, for sure. I thank you for reminding me about that. You know what's so crazy, because it says save on there, but it doesn't save anything. You consistently have to keep going in. Hey, what's up, John? You consistently have to keep going in there and changing that. But so the reason why I love the Trial and Error show, not only within itself, but the idea of it is that everything that we do in life is about trial and error.
Right.
And sometimes we forget that, yeah, things are going to suck sometimes. We were just talking about that last night on my show. And the thing that I love, like I keep saying, I love about the Trial and Error concept idea of the show is that just like a good mission statement, the name, whatever your mission statement is, should say everything about what you guys got going on. Right. Everything. I shouldn't have to think and wonder what it is that you do. Now, if your whole objective is to create a like a brand new name, then I think that you're going to have some branding and stuff that really goes with that, because nobody's going to know what the hell you're doing. Right. Or what you're talking about, or what the name of your company is, or what you're doing. Amazon, for the most part, wasn't called Amazon at first. It was called something else. And now if you look at their mission statement, their values, their goals, it's totally different than it was when they first started. Trial and Error, I see this within the next 5-10 years being the number one place that you hopefully go to when you want to learn something, and then you want to try to get over that learning curve, that educational hump that each and every single one of us goes through. And so I created, because I knew for some reason, something said, Brian's not going to remember what this is, because I think last week I forgot what your thing was, because we get so bogged down in our lives. So I decided to actually write some stuff up. And if you don't mind, Brian, I will share my screen with you.
Go for it.
And then we can just kind of piggyback right off of some stuff that I've already created, if you don't mind.
That's fine. Um,
On my show, this is kind of what we do. Again, it's live coaching, live training, live Q&A. So everything that we have going on is free for everybody to jump in, ask whatever questions you want. I ask a lot of questions as well. But so these are some of the ideas that we came up with, which is the difference between a mission and a motto is that your mission is your purpose and your promise, right? Think about what we do. Is we are the trial and error podcast show, whatever you want to call us.
Mhm.
All we do, it's all about trial and error. Purpose meeting your promise. I'm gonna fuck up, and I'm okay with that. And you have to be okay with that. Now, the motto is like your personality or your punchline, which is our jobs are to figure it the fuck out.
Mhm.
Right? That would be our punchline. That would be our personalities.
Right.
We're gonna figure it out, whether through YouTube, Google, or calling somebody and asking, beg, borrow, plead, drag. You do what you have to do in order to make it work. That's it. And then how both align both with your audience, feels and understands who you are and all that good stuff. So that's where that comes from.
Okay. And I think a lot of times it almost feels like, right, like you're saying, the motto is a little bit more surface level. It's more like that general kind of statement. So somebody can kind of get the personality a little bit of your brand, but the mission statement actually gives why your brand, why you exist, and what the purpose is. Okay, if I'm reading it right.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it does. With the Axe Fearless show, the premise of that is perspective is everything. Right?
Right.
I mean, as a life coach, that's what I coach, is about perspective. Not what you look at, but how you're looking at it. Everything, and that's one of the things that we talked about a few times during our show, is I'm not here to fix you because you're not broke.
Right.
I'm not here to motivate you because you don't need motivation. Right? My job is to kind of go in and figure out what it is that we need and then give you exactly that. We're not doing the platitudes and, hey man, things are just going to work themselves out. Fuck that. No, they're not. You're going to have to figure this out in order for things to work out. They're not just going to work out just because you say that they are, or just because, you had a pretty good week at bingo that week. It's not going to work that way.
It's interesting you're saying that. I just saw a podcast. I think it was Stephen Graham. They're interviewing Alex Ramosi over coffee or whatnot. And they had a big, this is a big segment, back and forth kind of thing, where he's like, in his mind, in his framework, visualization is bullshit, because just sitting there and visualizing an outcome doesn't work if you don't put any deeds behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the idea of you just sitting down and visualizing your desired outcome without putting the work in to make that outcome a reality. He's like, I think a lot of people, basically he's saying a lot of people just get hung up in that visualization thing and they never take any positive steps forward. And then they're just constantly visualizing an idealized outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was a really kind of interesting thing in the way that they broke it down. They were going back and forth about it, like seriously.
So like were they talking about it from the aspect of one believed in it and the other one didn't?
He said I guess it was about the way the term is defined, because in his framework of visualization, and the way that he's had it presented to him, it's always just, they don't talk about the action as much as just sitting there and thinking about it. And the action was eliminated from the concept. And he's like, I don't resonate with that. And so they were more arguing over the semantics of it, but I can understand both points, because initially I thought he's like, I feel like they thought he was saying, oh, visualization is just bullshit. And that's not what he was saying. What he was really saying was, I think that the way we use that term kind of negates us
Yeah.
actually taking any affirmative steps towards doing
Correct.
something. And so it was just an
Right.
interesting thing.
It's almost like when a person says, "Hey, I'm sorry, but," and
Yeah.
then you basically, as soon as you use that B word, as soon as you said "but," you negated everything that you just said before that.
Right.
So no, and I understand that. So being a life coach, one of the things that happened was when I finally graduated, like so many years ago, the movie The Secret had come out. And at that point, you couldn't just buy, you had to order it, right? So you couldn't just go to the store and go get it. You literally had to call the company or something like that and actually order it. So, or maybe I ordered it online. I don't know. But either way, I got it. I watched it first few times. I'm like, man, this is one of the greatest movies ever. And then I watched it a third time using my newly found tools, tips, and strategies as a life coach. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, dude, there's something missing in this. And the one thing that was missing was the word action. They never talked about doing anything. They only talked about manifestation.
Right.
And the problem with that shit is that there's like 12 other steps that go into manifestation. And I think that's the biggest problem that a lot of people had, especially in my field, with that. Hold on, let me see if I can, because I actually wrote these things down like years ago. And that was one of the things to me that really sucked ass on when they were talking about this, was that's all they ever talked about was A Richest Man Babylon. That's what it was. I was talking about that. I couldn't remember the name of the book. Oh, here we go. I found it. So basically, the laws of the universe are as this: divine oneness. Everything is connected to everything else. Vibration. Everything in the universe travels, including your thoughts, feelings, desires, and your will. Nothing rests. Everything vibrates. The law of action. Our thoughts, dreams, goals, emotions, and words manifest themselves through action. I just named off 3 universal laws, because the law of attraction is a universal law. And let me explain what that means. That means that it would still work whether you were here or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that would mean. Universal law means that it would work whether you were here or not. One of the things that I heard an atheist say, he said that's slick as shit. I loved it. He said, if everybody were to pass on today, everybody's gone. And in let's say in 5,000 years, when everybody's gone, all the books are gone too, every one of them. He said in 5,000 years, you'll have a brand new set of religious books, brand new gods, brand new all that, right? Everything would be different. But you know what would not be different? Science. Those books would stay exactly as they are, as we know them today. Probably better than what we have it today.
Yeah.
Right? So again, it's very easy to sit and say that, well, it's the law of attraction. That's almost to me like when people say that the only people who get wealthy are rich people. Mm-hmm. Like what? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's a paradox within itself. So you're trying to tell me that the only people who get rich are good people. So what about sea molesters? Mm-hmm. They get rich. What about people who sexually assault other people? They get rich. Murderers, they get rich too. People who promote genocide and who participate in genocide, they get rich too. So are you telling me that the victims and all the things that I just named off, they're not going to get rich because they didn't pray hard enough?
Well, And that's the thing. It's an interesting concept. There's a couple of things I want to hit before we get too far into it, because
Okay,
there's
let's go.
some interesting points you brought up.
Okay.
One, I think we have this bias towards thinking that accumulation of stuff equals it's a value statement on the individual that's accumulating the stuff. Just because, and that's that prosperity gospel kind of
Yes.
stuff where
Yes.
you know, and it, that always kind of makes that kind of makes me itch. Like that makes my eyelids itch. I don't like it because it ties the fact that you could be this horrible person, but as long as you do this thing, which essentially is performative because you're not taking the words, actions, and deeds that you're doing in church outside of there, that you can offset just being a terrible, selfish individual.
That's
And you're tying having lots of things materially to being a good person, and that's not a real thing. Now, two, one thing you mentioned, you said, you watched The Secret and then you went and got finish the coaching stuff, right? Finish the coursework, right? And you came back, you looked at it, and you're like, eh. And it's one dope thing, and I think a lot of people underestimate this. One of the phrases that used to piss me off when I was working running group homes and shelters and stuff was, they're basically perception is reality. I hate that phrase because I don't think perception is reality. I think your reality should be informed by from your perspective should be informed by your reality. Not perspective is reality, but your reality should be informed by your perspective. Or no, other way around. Your perspective should be informed by your reality. So I don't like that necessarily coupling a phrase, but also I like the fact that you come back and say, okay, I have a different perspective on this thing, and I can actually edit my feelings about this specific thing because I have new knowledge. So here's one thing. If you've ever worked case management or done any of that stuff in the human services, it will absolutely ruin you for movies about caseworkers and stuff like that, because it feels like bullshit. Like you're like, that can't happen because X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna be honest with you. One of the most realistic movies I've ever seen about case management, aside from all the aliens and the secret agents and stuff, was Lilo and Stitch. Because effectively, Lilo and Nani, that kinship placement is upheld by ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. And so that's why there were so many layers to actually do the termination and remove Lilo from Nani. That's a real thing. There's laws governing that piece of it, and that's the realistic part of it, and that's what it makes it. And so it was a realistic depiction, aside from aliens and cobra bubbles and all that stuff. It was a realistic depiction of actually how that law actually works. Now, I don't know if that was the intent, but I used to have to, I had a couple of ICWA cases, and it was kind of like that, where we had to exhaust all options regarding placement with family for kids that were Native American. And that's kind of, I liked how they depicted that, Lilo and Nani are indigenous, and so they would fall under the Indian Child Welfare Act. And it was just kind of an interesting thing. But that's one of the more realistic versions I've seen of caseworkers being involved with kids and families and stuff, because a lot of times it's played up for dramatic effect, but I'm sitting there like, this is ridiculous. It's almost like when my mom was alive, watching shows about the ER or any doctor stuff with her, because she used to be an ER nurse. She was a nurse for 50 years. So for her, she's like, nah, that's not how that would go. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. And so I'm saying all that to say this, the fact that you actually went out and got more information and it informed your perspective is actually a skill a lot of people don't have. They fall so in love with their own thinking that they ain't really open to adjusting what they believe based on new information.
It's funny that you say that. The first book that happened with me, at least, was the book called The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown.
Yep.
and the reason why that book took off the way that it did was because people wanted to believe so much of whatever, that they'll believe anything just to believe in something.
Mhm.
And to believe that, that Jesus had a wife and had kids and this and the other. Why wouldn't a person want to believe something like that? You know what I'm saying? And then why wouldn't, the church or whomever else want this book or whatever to get out there? Oh, people didn't want you to know this. When Dan Brown himself, on multiple publications, multiple situations and circumstances, has stated that it is a fictional book
Right.
that I took from other works of art that were fictional. And when you try to argue that with someone, and it's not an argument, I'm telling you what that man said. No, that was real.
Right.
Okay, cool. So then, and that was the moment that I understood that even with empirical evidence, some people will never want to listen to what you have to say. Or they'll never, and it's not that they don't want to listen to what you say. If anything distracts from their narrative,
Mhm.
they're not interested in learning anything more.
Yeah, we have a narrative bias. We are biased towards a narrative, and so
Yes.
human beings, and there's a cognitive thing behind there. And I know I say that a lot, but there's some cognitive elements behind it where we will believe a complete lie than we will believe a partial truth.
Yep.
So if something is a lie but it sounds like the complete story, we will take that over something that is true, that we don't have all the details. And that's kind of what it is. And so we have a bias towards stories, we have a bias towards narratives. That's why almost every single movie that you watch is built upon kind of that hero's journey framework. That's why they're able to do books like what's the name? Old boy was able to write a book like Save the Cat, where it basically took and deconstructed screenplays and said, yeah, most of them fit within this framework. Now it may look different and the acts may be longer and different elements of it may be longer,
but it's all the same thing.
This is kind of the common framework.
Same thing, yeah.
And even if it's not exactly the framework, it's against type. So it's a variation of that framework that's going the opposite, but it's still within the framework. And so we have a bias towards a narrative story. And so that's really interesting. And it's an interesting point where people are like, no, this book is true. And dude's like, nah, man, it's a work of fiction. No, it's true because I like the story. It's true.
Right.
I like the story, so it's true. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, but unfortunately, man, that's kind of that happens, unfortunately. So kind of sliding back into this. Yep. The second thing is that why most mission statements suck. Right. And the first thing that it says is that it's too vague. We help people better their lives. I mean, I don't necessarily know, because some of them are, I guess, too vague. But at the same time, though, if that's what you do, I mean, I guess you could probably narrow it down a little bit more as opposed to that, because I mean, that could be anything. I mean, shit, even a lawn group can say we help people better their lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess that can be for anybody. Well, what do you think about that?
I have a couple of minds. I'm reading this book called The One Big Thing. And
I read that.
Yeah. And he talks about, different types of goal setting and things like that. And he has this little quadrant thing. And I'm in the part with the quadrant, so I don't have the full scope of it. But basically he talks about you can have big, huge goals that are general and big, huge goals that are specific. And typically the big, huge goals that are specific are easier to accomplish. And that's kind of where we help people better their lives, is a big goal that's general. Yeah. How do you help them better their lives? And you would almost have to put a context clue behind it. Like you said, a lawn service could say, we help you better your life by having a beautiful landscape in front of your house. Or a plumbing service say, we help you better your life because we come over and unclog your toilet and get that smell out of your house. And so there are different ways to phrase that. And so I get it, but at the same time, I don't necessarily. I do think that one might be to what do you do to help people better their lives, or what
Right, and
kind of
that's
people do you help better their lives?
and that's what I'm saying is that I don't mind vague as long as it's specific
Yeah,
or whatever. Like even the my bookstore, it's two dads and a bookstore. Again, when I thought about the name, I took off the restraints or the constraints of how long it needs to be, how short it needs to be, how this and the other, right? And I
right,
just thought about it. At the end of the day, I'm like, okay, what is this? Like, well, what are we? We're two guys, okay? We love our kids. Uh, we both love to book. We both love to read.
mhm,
Obviously, one way more than the other. Uh, but this man still likes books, loves books. Hell, he was selling books way before I even came along, right?
right,
That was his hustle in general. He just happened to bring me on it. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of it. But that was already in D-Lake's thing. He was already selling books before I even came into the picture. So again, I'm like, okay, well, and we've gone through all these names. He's like, nah, pin it. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's call it Two Dads in a Bookstore. Right. And I also got the understanding from that from Two Men in a Truck.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So once you take those certain constraints off, and then you can just kind of, well, just play with the name, play with this and the other. That's why I'm able to create stuff kind of like on the fly with, with what it is we're doing. Even with the trial and error. I'm like, dude, like we kind of talked about different stuff. And I'm like at the end of the day, like this is all about trial and error.
right,
All of it. Right. I mean, and I know we had other variations of this, or whatever, but this is the one that just worked. And not only does it work professionally, it works personally.
right,
It works in any kind. I can always throw this up in a conversation, and anybody will know exactly what you're talking about
right,
because you do this in life. It's all about trial and error. Period. And then even when I don't know something, I'm like, ooh, trial and error. But we about to figure it out.
right.
Right. So yeah, go ahead, Mariah.
And the reason why I landed on it, and I think that it kind of resonated with both of us because we were talking about the idea of kind of failing your way to success,
Yes.
and getting out there and using the to borrow some of the Silicon Valley stuff is get out there and fail fast and break stuff.
Yeah.
Now, depending on what your station in life, you may not be able to afford to break things, but you can afford to fail stuff. And so a lot of times people get hung up at that beginning. It's what we talk about in Unstuck Sessions. People get hung up at the beginning because they're afraid to actually step out on the precipice and fail and learn from the failure. And the way I kind of construct it is realistically, a failure is kind of constrained by time, right? So if we're talking about a present tense, I do something, I fail at it, then that's the context. But if I'm looking back on the situation, it was a lesson.
Okay.
Failure was a lesson. It actually taught me how to be successful in the specific thing. So really, when you look at failure or look at something you failed at or something you didn't execute well, in the present and in the near term, it feels like a failure. But in the future, when you're looking back on it, it's going to be a lesson if you're able to accomplish the thing that you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And so that's what this concept is failing your way to success and failing your way better. And I think a lot of times, I don't even know if we do our kids in some senses as parents, I don't know if we always do our kids a service because I know I've caught myself trying to keep my kids from failing something instead of letting them go hit their head on it, just because I don't want them to experience it. But the lesson was important. And so sometimes I even have to hold myself back and say, nope, she's going to go whack her head a couple of times and she'll figure it out. And so I feel like as human beings, we are conditioned to avoid failure. And by trying to avoid the error or the failure piece of it, we end up missing out on so many valuable lessons. We only want to hear success stories. We never want to hear failure stories. We don't want to hear how this restaurateur bankrupted themselves 4 times before they figured out the hit restaurant, right? Like, we don't want to hear the part about the bankruptcy. We want to hear about how they overcame it, right? And so, but the real lessons are within how he or she screwed up 4 different times. That's where the lessons that are valuable are. So
yes,
that's kind of a tangent, but yeah, that's
it's not. It's really not. I want to show you this one. So this is one of the hold on, slides from the presentation that we had a few nights ago. And what I want to show you guys is this little thing here. So this is what I tell people, that this is where people's dreams and goals go to die. Right?
Right.
And they start usually about here, because you want to start here because now you haven't even started yet. And this is where a lot of them just go.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that what about for those people who do start, and you start going up this little hill, you start going up, and then you get to this precipice and you think that everything's great. This is good. I mean, you don't see any negative slides. You're picking this stuff up at an exorbitant rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is that you fall and you plateau straight down. And then once you plateau and you're out, you're done. This is where people stop. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they go up, they hit this, they fall down, and they stay right there.
Right.
And the problem is with this is that if you keep moving, you keep going, what that does is that propels you to start shooting back up. But because we face this right here, this plateau, that's where we end up, and that's where we stay stuck. And then that's where most people, like I said, why here, people get confused and then they quit. That's what, like, they start doing something, they like, man, I'm not gonna do any of this because this is stupid. And then they just quit. They just bow out.
Right.
And this right here is where I tell people, this is where you want to be. Right here's where you want to be. Right there.
Right.
The reason why you want to be there is because right after confusion comes understanding.
Right.
That's where it is. That's when you don't know. This is what I get. This over here is what I don't get. And it's like, how do I get from here to here? And that's what this is right there. They're here, right? And it might be even further distance. But the more you start to learn and understand, you start to edge closer. And then one day something happens and, you know what I'm saying, everything kind of clicks. Right. And then you're able to go to the next thing because you get that aha moment. Once you have that aha moment, it's like, okay, I got it. Now that builds on top of this builds on top of that. And then you can, thank you, sir. You too, buddy. And then you're able to, you're able to learn whatever you need to learn. But I try to tell people, make sure, and again, this isn't my thing. I don't know whose thing this is, but this was the best one that I found. I was going to create my own, but it just kind of took too long. Mm-hmm. But I saw this, I'm like, dude, this is it. I'll just use their thing. And it explains exactly what I needed to explain. So again, when you guys get confused, when you get frustrated, when you get sad, when you get pissed off because you're right there, it's like, dude, I know that there's a piece missing. This is where you are. Mm-hmm. Don't stop. Keep going.
Yeah.
Either you know the answer or somebody around you does. And find those people who know the answer for this. Because here's the cool thing. Majority of us have failed for you. And Brian, that's one of the things that with your kids, you don't want them to bump their heads because you already done been there, done that. Mm-hmm. You've already made those mistakes. So then why let somebody else make the same mistakes that you did? But like a a butterfly in a cocoon, it'll kill them if you don't let them figure it out for themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
it is.
And so for me, that's kind of what I tell people. After confusion, you find understanding. So that's where you want to be. When you get stuck here.
Right.
Get stuck here. Now, this little lump right here, you're going to have to work your way up there. It's not just going to be given to you. You got to work up there. And then once you think you got it, boom, now you don't. And that's where you want to be.
And the concept, I had a worker I had to break this down to, because we're about halfway through her first year, and she's coming to me freaking out, talking about, I feel like I haven't learned anything. I feel like I don't know anything. I said, stop for a second. I said, you've been immersed in this for 6 months. And let's think about what you knew when you first came in the door. And let's look at where you are now. I said, the dangerous part about learning is the more you learn that you don't know. Like,
Yep.
the more you realize you don't know about a specific thing. So
Yeah.
you realize, wow, I have all this knowledge, and all my knowledge is in the solar system, but there's a whole galaxy of stuff I don't know. But you wouldn't even know that galaxy existed if you didn't understand the solar system existed first. And so the more you learn, the more you realize there is to know about things.
Yep.
And so that part is, I've learned up until this point, and now I'm on this dip, but I have so much, I'm further ahead than when I started, but now I'm
Yes.
realizing the mountain I got to climb to actually reach that expertise status. But I know way more than when I started, and people give up right there. That's where they give up.
Right there. Like literally, let's go back to it right here. They give up here. Like right there. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like all this right here. And again, if you notice, like I said, that hump, once you fall off, it's kind of like a slope that you fall off, and you basically go back up.
Mhm.
Or whatever. You just gotta get through that one little thing in order to give yourself some momentum.
Right.
The way I put it, the harder you, the deeper or more entrenched whatever your learning is, and the deeper that plateau goes, the more that when you get it, it's going to skyrocket you.
Right.
Everything is just going to make sense of where it needs to go. And then once you get it, you got it. So again, this is what, when people tell me, man, I'm confused or I don't understand, boy, that's the best place to be.
Right.
That's what I tell them. So,
Yeah.
So be there.
Right. That's the thing. You're confused because now you have more knowledge to be confused. At first, you didn't even know enough to be confused about.
You didn't even know enough to be. I love that. You didn't even know enough to be confused.
So
I like that. I'm going to have to use that. Thank you. I like that. I'm going to go back to that. I like that. All right. So the other ones are that your stuff is too corporate or robotic. It has no soul, no edge, or no clarity. Again, going back to why most mission statements suck. You know what I'm saying? Like either too vague, too corporate, too robotic, no soul, no edge, no clarity.
well, and the edge is important. The soul, edge, and clarity is really important because
For sure.
the soul and the edge give the personality to whatever the venture is that you're trying. If it's a business, or if it's a personal brand, or if it's just the way you live your life, you know, you want to have that edge to it because you also want to define who this ain't for. And
Yes.
and
Yes.
you know, you can't be for everybody. Being for everybody means that you're a commodity, and you know, you're not really serving any purpose because you're for everybody. And even as human beings, we ain't aligned with everybody. We all don't have the same values or anything, or goals or anything. And so being for everybody doesn't make you special or unique. It just makes you out there, and you haven't clearly defined where you're trying to go, or what your mission is. You haven't if you don't have any clarity, you don't have a mission. Like,
Yeah.
you're just out there running, you're just out there doing tasks. If you don't
Yeah.
have clarity of focus, you don't have a mission. That's what my
Mhm.
take is. If you're not clear about what we're doing right here and right now,
And why you're doing it.
and why you're doing it, there is no mission. There is just you doing shit. You out
Yeah.
here doing stuff.
You're very busy.
Right.
You're extremely busy. Productive, on the other hand, I can't say that, but you're extremely busy.
Yep. We talked about that on my live stream yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. ADHD. That's what that but we talked about that. How to really leverage your, because we talked about ego depletion and how willpower is a finite resource and stuff like that. And I talked about, I may not always be perfect, but the way I figured the best way to get my stuff done is I always try to front load the tasks that are going to require the most out of my attention. I don't do the momentum building tasks. I don't do low leverage tasks. I do high leverage tasks that are going to change things and move things forward. And if I'm going to drain my willpower on it, I want it to be something that's going to make a difference in my day to day or month to month or year to year. And so I front load those tasks first. And a lot of times people get caught up in the busy work of, well, these things are easy for me to do, so I'm going to do the easy stuff first. And then by the time it's to roll around to the hard thing, they don't have any energy to do it. So I feel that. And I feel the entire concept of that bit. You're just busy. You're just busy. Yeah. You don't have a mission. You're busy. Like, when we was Operation Enduring Freedom, we didn't have no mission. We was just busy over in the Middle East blowing up stuff and stealing oil and stuff. We didn't have no mission. We was just out there doing stuff. And so, and it's unfortunate that the heads of it didn't have a clarity of mission, because the people on the ground definitely did. And that's where the disconnect happened. So, but yeah, I like that. I like that. No clarity, you have no mission.
Yeah, no, not whatsoever. And then, so it says at the end, how to fix it, which is to speak human, speak truth, and then speak now. Which speak human basically means, you can colloquially speak in our jargon, and tell the truth about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Be a little bit more specific. Going into the third one, it kind of touches on that. The 3 pillars of a powerful mission statement: clarity, impact, and authenticity. What exactly do you do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what do you do? Again, going back to the 2 dads in a bookstore, exactly what it is by just hearing the name. Right. Now, even if it would have been called something else, and it would have been 2 dads in a bookstore, if I would have called it Verizon, if I would have called it Verizon Inc. or something like that, and the subtitle would have been 2 dads in a bookstore, then you would have known that Verizon Inc. is a bookstore,
right,
owned by 2 guys. You know what I'm saying, or 2 dads. Right. So again, that's what a lot of that is. It's just understanding exactly what it is that you do and say, this is what I do. And the impact is, how are you helping and how? How are you helping?
Right.
Excuse me. Who are you helping and how? Right. So one of the things that we talked about, I think, last week was, when we're explaining what it is we do, it's best to ask a question that a person can actually identify with to explain what it is that you do. Because if you just tell a person what you do, sometimes they'll forget that shit as soon as they walk off. As opposed to, let me ask you, man, do you have something that you have a dream, goal, or aspiration, or even a problem that you just haven't been able to shake? Yeah, we all do. Can you tell me about it? Nothing big. Go have them talk about this shit, and then you can explain what it is that you do based off of that pain point or that need that person may have. Right. That's it. Once I heard that was it for me. Because at that point, I ain't got to sell you on nothing. That takes the salesman out of me. Because I'm just asking you what it is that you want. And if I can help, let me help. And if I can't, I will surely point you in the right direction for somebody else that can.
Right.
right? And I've been doing that before. What's his name? Chris Doe was talking about it. Man, I've been doing that forever. That's just a part of me in general. If I can't help, I'll help you find somebody that can.
Right.
Like off top. Like again, anytime I was looking for to make a banner, anytime I was looking to make a promo video, I would ask you, I would ask Andile, I would ask just different people, different shit. And then one day I'm just like, why you keep asking all these people if you can go figure it out yourself? So I sat my fat ass down. I went to YouTube. I looked to see who had a video with at least 100,000 views. That was about 20 minutes. I found a couple. I found the chick that I resonated with, watched her shit, built my shit in like 20 minutes.
Yep.
Done. Now, I've been messing with it on and off, but I learned it in 20 minutes. That was it. So, again, like, but I love that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that. And then why does this matter to your personality? Why does this matter to your brand? Why does this matter to your business? Fuck, at that point, why does this matter to your family?
Right.
I mean, if you really want to get technical about it, why does this matter to your family?
Well, and so using that framework, I was sitting there thinking, because I remember how I came up with this entire concept and framework of the Unstuck sessions and whatnot. And I thought about what I did in my life, right? Like what I did, even in before I started out as a business owner, what I did when I was still working for other people or whatnot. And like I said, I was case manager, supervisor for family support workers, director of residential shelters. I was a problem solver. That's what my goal was. Like my job was to remove the barriers so that people can reach their goals, right? And so it was, if it didn't matter if it was working with court assigned families, trying to get them out of the system and teaching them how to get the court out of their lives. If it was working with my staff so that they could figure out how to guide families to breakthroughs. If it was working on trying to teach kids how to build the skills so that they can get out of being placed outside the home, like constantly. And the framework I said is these people are stuck where they are. Right. And my job is to help them get unstuck.
That's it.
And that was my clarity. And that's why I think when I landed on the Unstuck sessions, that's where it came, because it's not a one-time event. It requires multiple sessions to actually get you unstuck, because a lot of times we don't necessarily really quite understand what the thing that's holding us back from success is. We think we have an idea, but sometimes it's kind of the sub boss. Like if you play video games, there's the boss, there's
Guru, Goro instead of Shang Tzu. Yeah.
And so you have the sub boss, but it's not really the boss. And we focus all of our energy on defeating the sub boss. But when we get to the boss beats our ass because we're not really locked in terms of, we didn't necessarily cleanly address the real underlying problem that is holding us up. And oftentimes that if you remove that one thing, if you're able to identify it and remove that one thing, it can remove a whole lot of other problems that you're experiencing.
Right.
But that's where the concept of the Unstuck sessions came from. I help people get unstuck from where they are. And sometimes it requires a shift in perspective. Sometimes it just requires really having somebody hyping you up and telling you what your skill sets actually are and giving you a framework to deploy them in the right way so you can start advancing. And so that's what it is. And then I'm like, well, what's the thing that has me stuck? Well, a lot of times it was different things with my ADHD had me stuck. And so I had to learn and teach myself an entire set of skills to get to where I am now. And so I'm like, if it's valuable to me, it got me here, maybe somebody else will see some value in it.
Right.
And so that's the entire concept of it. And so that's what my goal is, working with new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs with ADHD and helping them figure out how to get themselves unstuck and get them moving forward. And that's how I came up with my clarity of it. And that's it hits the clarity. For me, I feel like it helps the impact because it gets them moving forward. And I feel like there's authenticity to it because you're not going to get anything but me Like, you're not going to get anything but me with, if we work together. So I feel that. I like that.
So what about the other ones? I'll
So-
let you take these ones.
Okay. So mission versus values, quick breakdown of the difference. So your mission statement is where you're going. I feel like your value statements are the principles that you use while you're going that route. Like, okay, say your mission is to get $1 million, right? Now, that's fine. You have a mission of doing that, if that's what your mission is, okay? But your values are the things that determine whether you're going to get that $1 million by building a business or building a product or finding some way to save that up, or if you're going to go rob a bank. Like if you're going to go knock over a casino. And so your values kind of determine how you execute things along the way to achieve your mission. And your values kind of determine really who you are and what you're willing to deal with, do, or endure on the way to fulfilling your mission. That's how I determine mission versus values side of it. Because I do feel like sometimes people have these big mission statements, but they don't necessarily have a moral anchor to pin them down to a specific prescribed set of values. They'll do anything. And sometimes it's okay to do anything as long as it's not hurting other people. But it is what it is.
Right, of course.
And then how do all these work together? I just kind of mentioned that. Your values define what you're going to do in order to fulfill your mission.
Okay. So let me ask you, like, how would something like this work in, let's say that somebody's doing a bakery or somebody bakes goods.
Right.
What would you tell them based on this information? Like pertaining to their mission statement, their values, whatever. What would you explain to them? What would you give to them? Because we have a person that does watch our show.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll call me up and ask me all these questions or whatever. So
okay.
What's one of the things that that you would say to her, and then I would, kind of give my thing too.
Okay, so why a bakery? Why did you choose to bake goods? What is it about the process of baking goods that made you say, okay, I like doing this enough that I want to build a business around it and share my baked goods with the world? What does that do for you internally? Because a lot of times, people will buy restaurants just to have them, right? But a bakery is a little bit more of a personal thing that requires art. It requires a lot of focus and repetition and dedication and care and concern and stuff. And so for me, the first question I would ask is, why did you start this journey? What about baked goods compelled you to want to share this with the world? Do you like the idea of improving people's day by offering them something sweet or savory or some flaky bread that's warm and stuff like that? Like, what is it that inspires you to do this all? What drove you to this? And then what is the thing that makes your bakery unique? Your specific way unique, and then kind of reverse engineer it. So and this is kind of a copywriting thing. Like, this is what I would do in my diagnostic copywriting interview to gain a voice of the business. Who are your clients? Who's your favorite client? What's their name? What do they do? Who's your best client? What are the commonalities between that? And what was your reason for doing this? Why did you start this? Because if it's just to make money, that makes it a little bit harder. So we need to have an underlying reason of why specifically we're doing this thing. Why is this your labor of love? What makes this? What feeling does? And I don't know. You said bakery. I don't know. Let's say, what feeling do you get from somebody enjoying what you baked? What does that do for you internally? And why did you want to do it at scale?
Right.
Does that am I making sense here?
Yeah, you are.
those are the questions I would ask first. And then I would determine, okay, so we've kind of determined why I want to, what feeling I get out of it and what I want to do. Okay.
Right.
So now we start building words around those feelings that we want to provide to people. Okay. You know, brighten somebody's day with a pastry. You know, it's a simple thing that you can do to brighten somebody's day. You know, simple delights.
Okay.
That's where you come. We provide simple delights. What do simple delights do for somebody's day? Well, even if they're having a bad day, it's something small that can make their day just a little bit better. So we make your day a little bit better.
Gotcha. I like that.
When you buy one of our treats, we just want to make your day a little bit better. And then you can build an entire framework and brand around that. You know.
Okay.
You know, and then you could come up with imagery. You know, you could come up even little short videos. Doing a video, somebody's having a rough day, it's raining, they're going through all this stuff. When you have a bad day, you know how shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
And you just have a bad day and it kind of piles upon each other. But then they come into your bakery, get a pastry, and it makes them smile for the first time all day. You're not selling baked goods, you're selling smiles in a box.
Look at that, y'all. Smiles in the box.
And so that's one of the things, and that's how I would break it down. And so that's how I would determine, okay, so if that's your mission to provide smiles, you know, we sell smiles by the dozens.
We sell smiles by the dozens. All right, man. I hope that she's watching this, because he's giving you some good stuff there, ma'am.
And so that's how I would break it down. I want more of those. I like that. I want more of those kind of examples, because it forces me to think about what I'm saying too.
Right. Dude, what? Oh my gosh. I'm not sorry, man. Like people keep sending me emails because their shit's not working. It's like, we'll try to send it. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that again. Like, go into you guys' stuff and grab your stuff.
Let me see.
No.
Let me see.
Sorry about that, bro.
All right, let me see. Let me pull it up here. I'm gonna see if I have anything on the stream, because I turned mine public too. And like I said, Facebook is temperamental when it comes to this stuff, bro. Like,
is it really?
Yeah, it is. And so if we have questions in the chat or they're not seeing it, because I don't have any questions on my Facebook. Like I said, it sometimes it's hit or miss. But that's why we clip them. That's why we clip these and post them, so that people can catch up and watch them. Okay. What are people saying? Are they saying they're not able to see what we're talking about? Or are they not able? They're asking questions and putting comments in, and they're just.
Oh no! This personal stuff.
Okay.
I think professional stuff, just not this. That's what I'm talking about. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
My God, damn.
But yeah, I like that. I like, and if anybody's watching, if you want to drop more ways that we could kind of construct a framework around your mission statement, drop it in the chat. Give us what you're trying to do. And then Miriam Fearless can maybe put our brains together and give you some things that you can use to develop your own mission statement. Because I think that's the way we could be highest leverage to benefit people.
Right. So, I mean, and again, it's funny as shit, man. Now, one of the things that I consistently saying, and I say this every single night for the last 19 nights, I said, listen, I am giving you guys damn near $1 million worth of game here. Take it. Run with it. Ask as many questions as you can. Bring your dreams, goals, aspirations, problems, curiosity. It doesn't matter. Just bring them. I'm giving this to you.
Right.
From 8:30 at night to 10 o'clock at night. Matter of fact, and again, it's running. As soon as I'm done taping, it goes straight to YouTube. It goes straight there because I upload it as soon as I'm done. There's no reason right now that y'all shouldn't be getting this information, taking this information and running with it. And I'll tell you this. When we're At least for the Ask Fearless. Once those 100 days are done, I'm going to charge for everything. So again, I don't ever want somebody to say, why do you charge so much?
Mhm.
When I was giving it to you for free and you didn't take it.
Yeah.
So I mean, listen to me. I'm like, let me explain something to people, right? And this is my honest personal belief. Anybody that's around me will tell you. I don't know if my little brother's here or my girl Jessica. I don't know who's here, but I'm just telling y'all. If you pull up, hopefully you'll hear it. Money is one of the easiest things that we make. Easy. Whatever. Especially if and when you know who you are, what it is that you do, and what your value is to the industry that you're in. I think that once you understand that, money will just, you'll sit there and wonder, damn, where you been? I've been sitting there waiting for you. Where you been? The money will just populate and just keep coming to you because you know who you are and what you do. That's it. When I give this stuff out, one of the things that Jessica was just telling me, she said, Fearless, dude, why are we not building a website right now? Why are we not building this? Why are we not building that? Why are we not building this funnels, which she was talking about, or whatever, so we can start getting more clients and this and the other? I said for the next, I think it was 83 days, I'm not marketing myself as a hiring life coach. I'm marketing myself as a free coach, free live training, free coaching, free Q&A, that you would spend thousands of dollars for. I got the receipts for this shit that people pay a lot of money for. We're just handing it off to you. And because the things are so abundant nowadays, I think that some people are like, okay, well, if it's there today, it'll be there tomorrow. I don't know about how Brian plans to do things, but for myself, I don't know if all that content that I have online will stay there. Or if I create or develop more stuff, I don't know if I'm going to put that stuff out just for everybody. Because my objective, like I told her, I want to give you $100. I want to give you 100 hours. 100 hours. And we're not even including the trial and error stuff.
Mhm.
I'm not even including trial and error. I'm not including the philosophy hunters with me and my boy Matt. I'm not including that. I'm just talking about my own show, my stuff. Right now, we got about 19. Actually, we got over, but I count every show as 19 hours or an hour. Even if it goes over, I still count them as an hour, right? I got 19 of them. That's 19 hours worth of game that I'm giving you.
Yep.
Excuse me. 19 hours worth. So when I get to that 100 mark, that 100-hour mark, when I'm charging you $8,000 or $9,000 a month for my services, don't trip. Don't, because you now know that I have all of this content to give, and this is not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Everything that I do will be customly created for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like what we're doing right now, we're customly creating it for you. Take the shit. Take it. Because here's the thing. Once my stuff is out, and then that's it. Everything that I do subsequent after that or before it will have to start doing the same exact thing. So all of these sessions that we're doing on trial and error, we'll give them to you, not a problem. But eventually, everything's going to come at a price. Everything. So when we tell you, take this shit, run with it, call us up, email, text, whatever. Let's go.
Right.
This is what we're doing. We're here to help. And we're doing it for free. And now, like I said, once we start charging, we want to make sure that you already know why we're charging you that much. This right here is nothing more than this is like the testimonial stage of the shit that we're doing and the stuff that we're giving you. The testimonial stage. So that's all we're looking for the most part is looking for people to work with just so we can get some testimonials and then we can have that what's called social proof.
Right.
Social proof basically means that, oh, I've seen what they can do. I've seen it firsthand. Right?
Right.
That's what we're doing. That's right now. That's what trial and error is. It's about creating enough content and social proof that you already know that once we start charging for stuff, you can go into the vault and go look to see what we were creating before your very eyes.
Right.
And this, most of the shit that we talk about, we have a topic and just throw up, and most of the time we go off the top of the dome. This is the first time, for the most part, that I actually just had some ideas that I just kind of wanted to throw out in general. This is the first time. Most of the time that Brian and I are talking, nothing's scripted. Everything's unscripted. We just go straight from the dome.
Right.
From the dome on it. So I'm just telling y'all, man, please take this up. Like, share. What's the other one? Post.
Right.
Like, share, post.
Subscribe
to what we got going on. I mean, dude, we're giving this shit to you. Let us fuck up for you so you don't have to.
Right.
Or do it on your own. I'm cool with that too. But please please, I need you to understand. Financially speaking, we will be fine. Will you be?
Right.
That's the question I would ask. Are you gonna be okay?
Well, and we talk about it, the value proposition, and Fearless and I talked about it. We are not holding anything back, right? Like,
Not at all.
we don't hold anything back. And the reason why we can give so generously of our experience and our knowledge and the stuff that we know is because we know that there's always more. It's impossible for us to drain everything that's in our brain and dump it online. And so when you engage with us in real life, where I'm talking about, oh, yeah, I don't want to watch the videos, I just want to work with you directly, there's always going to be more there. You know what I'm saying? So you can either invest your time in going back in the archive of videos that we've recorded and posted for your viewing pleasure on YouTube and stuff like that, or we can distill it. You can pay us and we can distill it for you. My world is, I have the Unstuck sessions, right? I've shifted because I used to do the Unstuck live streams on Tuesdays. Now they're on Monday mornings, Monday afternoons at 1:30. And so I hop on here and I talk about different elements of marketing for ADHD brains, for business owners. Okay. Because a lot of business owners struggle with ADHD, and a lot of it is the task stuff and just doing the thing so you can get to the next thing. And I help you come up with tips and strategies so your life can be a little bit easier. I help you use some structured problem solving, because that's what the bakery example was. That's some structured problem solving. I give you a framework to help you realign your perspective so you can be in alignment with what you want out of life. And so when I'm on the live stream, hop on, because if you want it outside of the live stream and outside of that context, that's where there's a fee. We got to sit down and talk about the monthly fee and what that looks like and retainer and all that stuff. Or you can come on and get it for free. And so that's what we're saying right now. And so it's not even a hard pitch, but it's what we're saying. This is what the purpose of this is. We are trying to show the world exactly what we can do and sharing it with you so you can walk on the journey with us. Okay. And so that's what, and hopefully we can share enough of our errors that you can learn from them. And so that's what it is. And I don't know if we've done the actual pitch for services, because I did that yesterday on mine, where that was really my first time being comfortable enough to say, hey, this is what I do, and this is how you can get in contact with me. You know, I'm not gonna say it's the first time. It's the first time in a long time, because I have clarity of where I want to be and what I want to do.
Okay.
And so That's what the entire process and concept of the Unstuck sessions is. I've spent hours and hours, months and months, almost a better part of a year, putting the frameworks together and really trying to deconstruct what I did to have two businesses and do all this other stuff and still be able to function with ADHD. And so this is me using myself as the guinea pig, throwing myself in the lab. And so if I'm on the live stream talking about it, hop on, ask your questions. I'm here to help. I'm here to try to give you some frameworks. And if it becomes such a big thing that we need to take it offline, we take it offline and have that conversation there. Okay. So that's what it is. And so when we do this trial and error stuff, we want y'all to jump on and don't be shy about it. Don't feel like there's dumb questions, every step along the way. If it's important enough for you to formulate a question, it's important enough for the question to be answered.
That's it.
So Fearless's value proposition is he's giving you 100 days of free coaching. Like it's free. It's available. All you got to do is hop on at the live streams every night at 8:30 Central. Okay. That's the value proposition. If you don't take him up on the value proposition, it's going to look different after the 100 days is over.
Oh, so I promise to God it will be. And again, like I said, man, I want to give it to you. I have to get it out of my head so I can give it to you.
Okay.
I have to get it out of my head. And that's the objective for me. Get it out. Like that. I have to get the shit out. Because otherwise it'll stay there. And just taking up all this space with my big ass head. I got to get it out.
So do we want to talk about failure, the mission statement failure?
Yes, please. Yes,
okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
Do so, please.
So we talked about a bad mission statement. I don't necessarily know there's a bad mission statement. I think their mission statement,
unspecific mission statement.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Where
Right.
It doesn't clearly
unspecified.
Where where the mission statement is more of a label for busy work. It's not a mission statement. It's just a label that you're affixing to busy work that you need to do.
That part.
And that is because it's not specific. It's not bold enough to be specific. You haven't narrowed it down enough and given enough of your personality to that mission statement. And so I think all mission statements probably can be rehabilitated, but I would say if we're saying bad, I don't know if it's bad, but it can be unspecified and unfocused. With Coach Mo Athletics, our mission statement is we build better players daily. That's what we do. That's what the value statement is. And that's and it's in alignment and it's defined what we've done and defined all of the media that we've created. Everything, all of our services are tailored towards making basketball players better than what they are, than when they came in. And so and it took a while to land on it. But I wanted to find something simple that really defined what our goal was.
And real fast, I like how you just said that. And I think that's a part that people really need to understand as well, is that it wasn't the first thing that you came up with.
Right.
Which means that you're not going to get it right on the first try. It's okay to have one thing and then switch it up a little later.
Right.
I mean, Walmart rebrands itself every so many years. Target does the same exact thing. Wendy's does the same thing. McDonald's does the same thing. They don't want the shit to stay the same. I mean, and if you're just starting off, dude, like once you really get your footing, then you'll probably go with something that works for you.
Right. And I was matter of fact, you're talking about Chris Doe. I was just listening to something he was talking about where why specifically like a Pepsi when they do a rebrand, he's talking to designers and he's like, as a designer, you might look at that logo and say, oh, they didn't really change anything and I could do better. He's like, that may be true, but at your size, you're a tremendous threat to this multinational corporation if you screw it up. And so they will go with something that is recognizable and familiar, faster than they'll go for something that's eye-catching and trend-setting.
Yeah,
and so,
because they already have the viewers, they already got the eyes.
Right.
Why do you need to change the shit?
Right.
Yeah.
So we talked about what bad mission statements are. We kind of lingered on too generic something along the lines of to be the best at what we do. Okay, well, you can define that one. Okay,
Very specific. That's very subjective.
but there's another one out there, and this kind of takes me back because this is what my early days copywriting. The biggest frustration I had working with a client, and I'm gonna tell you this, they were so in love with their industry that they could not translate it to normal human speak, which means it was nothing but a bunch of buzzwords and jargon. Sounded like we leverage cutting edge synergies to revolutionize global markets with dynamic solutions. What the hell does that mean? What does that mean to a regular human being? And so they were so in love with the jargon side of it and sounding smart and sounding like they knew what they were talking about that they didn't take any time to see, does this align or will this trip somebody's trigger to say, hey, I need to work with them? Because it doesn't tell you what you do. It sounds great, sounds fancy, sounds amazing. It doesn't say anything. And it doesn't tell you exactly what you do. And for a customer, they don't have enough time to sit there and sort through all that. Fearless and I talked about it on the marketing episode a couple weeks ago. Most people comprehend at like a 5th or 6th grade level, and it doesn't depend on what their education level is. They comprehend things that they read at a 5th or 6th grade level. Now, they have the ability to comprehend at a higher level when it comes to technical stuff that may be related to something they specialize or have specialized knowledge in. But when you're talking about regular messaging, they're reading something, they're reading an ad, trying to make a decision on it. They're comprehending at a 5th or 6th grade reading level. And we leverage cutting edge synergies to do blah, 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 blah. Doesn't, if you read that to a 5th grader, they wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. They'd be like, okay. Right. So that's that piece of it. And Fearless, we talked about it, where somebody's so in love with the language. And I'm verbose. I'm a verbose dude. I'll throw out big words all the time. That's just my personality. It's what I do. But I don't do it to try to impress anybody. Like, it's just what I've always done. And a lot of times we fall so in love with our language that we want to show how much we know and how much we're smarty pants. And it comes across with our mission statement, and then people don't know what our mission really is. Doesn't clearly define anything.
I was reading this book, or I am reading this book. It's called The Gods of the Wood. Sorry about that. It's called The God of the Woods. Mm-hmm. And this guy, they were having some board game or whatever, and they were talking about different words, and the guy was just dogging his wife because she's not that bright or whatever, and they were using certain words that I'm like, damn, what is that? And they're like the old style type of words. So one was like somewhere, but it means to leave in haste. It means to it means to leave immediately. But it's a very old word. It's not like anything that we would use now. But he also used this word, which is opsimath. Opsimath, which is OPSIMATH. Opsi means late, so like obsolete or whatever. And I was just thinking about that. And then math is actually a Greek word which means to learn. Mm-hmm. So it basically means to learn later in life or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, it's a really cool word. And so when I teach people about certain things, what I like to go deep into a lot of these things, or whatever, because I think a lot of it's really cool. So yeah, I know what you're talking about on that. One of the things that I was kind of thinking about too with that is a lot is said about a person's mission statement. And not only is it a lot said off of it, I think that you can understand exactly where a company is going based off their mission statement as well. And not only that, but their mission statement, for the most part, will tell them exactly who and what they serve first. Mm-hmm. Right? So ConAgra, the company we had here, downtown Omaha, They just pulled tail and tucked and left. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, why would they do that?" Well, if you read their mission statement told you exactly who their main priority was, which was the stockholders. They said it. Oh, go read their shit if you think I'm playing with you. Their objective is to make sure that their stockholders are happy. Secondly, the employees, and then the community and everybody else. So I want you to think about that. Most people think about the community first, employees second, stockholders last. In today's time, nobody. It is stockholders first. How am I going to get my money back? I don't give a fuck about them. How am I going to get my money back? And unfortunately, and I say fortunate and unfortunate, these companies tell you exactly what their mission statements are and who their priority or their loyalty is to first. They tell you that. And the reason why they're so fucking stupid to put that in their mission statement is simply because they know you're not going to read it. And for the most part, when they're writing their mission statement, they're not writing it thinking about you. They're writing it thinking about the people who technically employed them, the people who backed their money, the people who, I don't know what to tell you, bro. You have to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's just unfortunately one of those things.
ConAgra is big enough where they could say that mission statement and say, "And what you gonna do?
You ain't gonna do shit. What are you gonna do?
What you gonna
What you gonna do?
You gonna boycott ConAgra? Okay, so go empty out all your cabinets and boycott ConAgra because they have their hands in so many different pots.
Yes,
it's hard to actually boycott of them.
Yes, because I think they own Banquet. They own a whole bunch of other stuff. It's not just like ConAgra. It's a conglomerate that owns a lot of stuff.
Right.
And a lot of it is mainly food and beverage, but I believe food. That's crazy. What I mean. So you can play with them if you want to.
It's crazy that, because that is the Jack Welch philosophy. We talked about it. I
think last week.
Yeah, where Jack Welch was the guy who essentially changed the way that modern CEOs view to be really aligned with what we're doing in the community and what's best for our employees' interests, and having long-term employees and building pension plans and uplifting entire communities and stuff, and doing the R&D, which is research and development, to find new technologies make people's lives easier. Sounds great, right? Sounds like a wonderful thing. And with that, they ended up becoming a pretty major player, a pretty big corporate player in the world. But when Jack Welch took over and said, "Oh, we're about the shareholders. Like, that's all. We just want to make the shareholders money. And that's what our goals are." And so they slashed research and development. They slashed all the pensions. They fired a lot of the old employees and stuff. And they said, "No, that's what the goal is." And then that's how they ended up becoming one of the biggest, at the time, the biggest corporation in the world, because they inflated their value so high because they said, "We're just about the money. We don't care about any of the other stuff."
Right. Yeah,
and so I think, from a business owner standpoint, you can split the difference. You don't have to go the entire Jack Welch route, where you have a clearly defined mission statement that is about service to people. Because at the end of the day, for most business owners, we get into it because we want to serve a specific need that's not being addressed right now. But the other end is when you don't have that clarity and mission statement, then your business goes everywhere and it's not really serving anybody. So, okay. But yeah, that's kind of what it was. And so it's frustrating with ConAgra because they were so entrenched in the community, and you almost wish the powers that be would sit down and have read the mission statement and said, "Oh, I see what they about, and we're not going to invest that much into them."
And that's all I'm saying is that, like, know who you're buying, know what you're buying, and know who you're buying that shit from.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I own a Tesla. I can't tell you. And matter of fact, maybe I should have actually looked into what Homeboy stuff was. But if I'm not mistaken, I mean, dude, they were all into some old weird ass shit in general. But I was talking to a friend of mine about these billionaires and these owners of some of these brands, or at least the faces of some of these brands, and I'm like, and she was telling me that she's not gonna buy a Tesla because of his personal views and this and the other. I'm like, here's the thing. I understand that you don't want to do it, based on your value system, and I totally get that. That's hey, do that. I totally understand. But I'm like, do you think that he's the only one with those type of views? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the only one that feels that way. Name a president that we've had that hasn't felt the same way that this man has. Or name a congressman. I was telling her about Strom Thurmond. That dude hated black people and brown, hated us with a passion. And it's one thing to say, well, he just comes from a particular part of history. Then why would you keep him there? And not just that. Don't look at just him being in the House of Representatives. Don't do that. Don't do that. I want you to do something even grandiose than that. When he passed, I want you to look at all the people who showed up to his funeral. You see what I mean? Don't just look at how this man felt. Don't just look at what he said. I want you to think about the constituents that he kept around him that are still at that house right now. You know what I'm saying? So again, we can sit and talk about Elon Musk all day long, but you think he's the only car manufacturing company where he felt that same way about a certain particular type of people? You don't think that Henry Ford felt a particular way about certain people too?
He was a Nazi sympathizer.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So again, listen to me. Name an American type of car dealer or dealership, not dealership, but manufacturing company here that doesn't have those type of views. I'm just saying. And again, I'm not telling you that they don't exist.
Yeah.
I'm saying that everybody got something on them. Everybody. The only difference is that you didn't see Henry Ford hanging out with the president of the United States at that time the way that Elon Musk hangs out with those dude. Like, I don't know who owns Rivian.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I plan to own one day, but I don't know who owns that. I don't know their values. I don't know their mission statement. I don't know shit. I just know it's a really cool car. And that was it. That's all that is.
And I've been, I'll preface it, and people that are all in the groups I'm in, and I've been on Elroy's neck. I've been on Elroy's neck since Elroy popped up on the scene. But I also understand, human beings are messy, and we are conflicted creatures. And so sometimes the things we do and say aren't always in alignment with who we are. Now, that being said,
or maybe it is exactly who we are.
Exactly.
That's exactly who we are.
And that being said, when I look at it, I don't look at it as, well, look at the time he grew up in and stuff like that. I don't believe in that, because there's plenty of people that grew up in the same time that are his contemporaries that don't hold those same beliefs and weren't violent segregationists, impossible rapists, who
that's what I'm saying.
And so, just because
they weren't just violent as fuck,
right,
for absolutely no other reason that somebody looked different than you.
It had everything to do with who he was at his core. And so,
and also where he grew up, which is apartheid Africa.
Yeah. And that's
how you gonna walk into my country, kick your fucking feet up, and think you know what? I'm gonna leave it where it is. I'm gonna shut my mouth. But all I'm saying is that we as black people, we have a history of allowing other people to walk in to our shit and just take off. Like, I once heard this old phrase go that the missionaries came with the Bible, looked around, told the black people to put their heads down so we could pray. And then by the time they lifted their head up, they had the Bible, they had Christianity, and the white dudes had the rest of the continent, and they had the land. So all I'm saying is that you better be very careful who you let into your motherfucking house. Off
Well,
top.
Well, the thing with Elroy is he also branded himself as a different person than what he's actually presenting now. And so it's easier because initially he presented himself as the likable
Tony Starks.
Tony Stark,
He was like the real life Tony Starks.
and that's
And
how
here's the thing, he still fucking is.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. He still is. Tony Starks is a fictional character. But if Tony Starks were fucking real, this is what you'd get. That's the reason why I told you before. I love that show, The Boys, so much. Because when if Superman just didn't give a fuck, then what?
Well, and
That's all I'm saying.
the crazy part is you mentioned that there's an entire line. Y'all need to understand I'm a comic book nerd, so this is gonna come out. There's a line where basically what happened was the superheroes and supervillains had their personalities inverted, and it brought out the opposite side of what their personality was. And it hit Tony Stark, and it didn't make him evil, but it magnified. So all the giving and generosity he had, it just made him into a very like selfish person. So he still wanted to give, but it was in his own special way. So in the comic book, he rolled out a variation of his Iron Man armor, gave it to everybody for free, right? And they're able to do all this amazing stuff, and it healed all these diseases and stuff like that. And then around, because about 89 days later, he said, okay, so that was a free trial version of this thing. And so now in order to keep it, you have to pay me. It was like $90,000 a month to keep it. It was some insane price. And that was just him. He was still fighting criminals and doing all the other stuff, but he was a complete ass. And so it inverted his personality. And
that's just it, though.
Was the worst part of his personality.
Was he really a complete ass? I mean, was he still charging the government, or did he just make it privatized and say, you know what, I'm not charge you?
Well, and the thing was, and I think maybe we could tie it back. The interesting part was, yes, that was actually part of. All it did was magnify a part of his psyche,
of who he already was.
And so it was him, but it wasn't him, if that makes sense. It was him, but it wasn't him.
I mean, right. Okay, go ahead.
It was him, but it wasn't him. And that's why I say human beings are complex and messy people. Like, we are creatures that we are walking contradictions a lot of times. And the more you embrace that, the more you embrace the concept of trial and error, where you don't always try to be this perfected version of yourself. And that's why the mission statement is important, because sometimes having a personal mission statement can realign you with who you really want to be in the world. And you may not always be that person, but at least it gives you an idea. It gives you an idea of who you really want to be. And it can recenter you when you get off path, and forget what your goal or what your mission is in this existence. The mission statement can help recenter you and bring you back, because we don't always live our missions, and that's the reality. And people beat themselves up for it all the time. It's like, no, you just need to get back on mission. You just need to get back to what's important. Got sidetracked, cool. Let's reorient ourselves.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, honestly, man, that's really all it is. And we just did on Bags Fearless podcast, we did a whole thing with I think it was something along the lines of 7 reasons why you don't want to win the lottery, or so. It was like something crazy like that on some of this time too. I forgot what here we go. Damn, that was day 8. Because somebody had just won the lottery in general. And so I'm sitting there kind of like, damn, like, it would be something kind of, I think it would be fun to show people excuse me, some statistics regarding that. Oh man, did I? Oh, dude. Okay. So apparently, hold on. Oh, okay. So I want to I want you to see this.
Okay.
So these are some of the statistics that I found. The chances of you being struck by lightning are 1 in 1.2 million. That's on a big, beautiful day, like it is today. Just riding on your motorcycle, get zapped by a bolt of lightning. Becoming an astronaut is anywhere between 1 in 1,500 to 6,000, depending on the variable that goes into that. To become a billionaire, 1 in 2.8 million. Okay? To become president of the United States of America is 1 in 30 million. And this is here to become a famous actor with in today's time, 1 in 1.5 million. To win the lottery is 1 in 293 million. Think about that. You can accomplish every single one of these things before winning the lottery. You can become a fucking billionaire multiple times over before you actually won that goddamn lottery. And one of the things that I tried to tell people is that, hold on, the odds are blah, 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 blah. Okay. Most people will never win anything that's significant in that. Many people play without understanding their low probable chances of success, right? That, bro, it's a fact. Loyalty, jealousy, entitlement, unending requests. Listen, and here's the other one, number 4. You will be sued by your family, friends, and fucking enemies. Matter of fact, anybody that you've ever met is going to sue you. They're going to sue you. This dude right here, Jack Whitaker, he won. Before this person, I think, who won last couple weeks ago. This is the largest Powerball winner in 2002. We won $314 million. Now, before he even played the lottery, he was already a multimillionaire in construction. He lost everything and unalived himself.
Jeez.
Federal taxes, people don't even think about that. Federal taxes could be as big as 37%. And then state taxes, they're going to take their shit plus another fee, plus a few other fees on top of those fees. So by the time you get whatever, you're already done. Everybody swears up and down that they wish that they had never won it. This person right here, Abraham Shakespeare, won $30 million. The lady to the left or right of him, she unalived him. You know how she did it? She siphoned a crap ton of his money. Then when he found out, he fired her as being his accountant, which she had no accounting degree whatsoever. She was a fucking nurse. And what they did was they unalived this man and buried him in her backyard. They grabbed one of those cement trucks and put a brand new patio on top of him. When people were out looking for this dude, nobody could find him because he was under her house. So again, I mean, the reason why people come after you with that is because to them, you didn't earn anything. Right. You know what I'm saying? You didn't earn it. Anytime you get a large windfall of money, that's how they treat you because you didn't earn shit. So everything that you're saying, I totally understand.
So let me throw this on here. So there's a joke I had, like, if I ever won the lottery, I'm gonna share my screen real quick if I can.
Please do.
If I ever win the lottery, I'm gonna show you how I'm showing up to the conference to get my stuff. Where is it? This is how I'm showing up.
Whatever you come up with, I'm trumping it. I'm just telling you right now.
That's how I'm showing up. That's how I'm showing up to the press conference to collect my winnings. Listen.
All right. I like that, but I'm going to go ahead and see you, and I'm going to one-up you right quick. Hold on. Keep going.
Well, and my thing is, we used to joke about it, but, man, I tell people, like, if the way you'll know that I won the lottery is if you never see me again.
Right, yeah, right.
If you never see or hear words from me again, that means that I've won the lottery and I bounced. Like I'm out. Burned it all down, and me and my family went into hiding. You know what I'm saying? Because I just seen how many people had their lives destroyed by that big sum of money. And
Yeah.
even you could talk like even when they say, how a lot of these young athletes go broke because they get these $1 million offers and everybody comes out of the woodwork and now they got lawsuits and they're getting sued by people they don't know and all of that stuff. And so I could see it, and that's why I'm like, I'm not broadcasting, I'm not advertising it.
This is how I'm showing up.
I'm out, bro.
I'm coming with my Kanye West on. I'm coming with my Kanye West on, my Yeezys and my clan outfit. Yeah,
right.
With an Axe Fearless lapel.
But like they wouldn't even know.
Shit.
They wouldn't even know who I was if I'm collecting my lottery.
No.
I'm putting on my mask and I'm like, hey, this is how we doing it, because it does open that door. And there's a weird jealousy that comes along with the success side of it. Because you're going to find that even people that necessarily like you or love you, and you could kind of see it when you start being successful in ways that even it doesn't even have to be lottery stuff. You could just be successful, and you could be successful in ways that other people have failed, or you have more success than they think you should be allotted. People start moving different around you, and it's not the hater thing or anything. They don't hate you; they still love you, but they also are envious of you, and they're looking like, well, I know this person. Why do they get to experience this outcome or breakthrough or this wonderful thing happening to them? Why do they get to experience that and I don't?
Yep.
So, but yeah, I see the lottery can absolutely destroy you. And again, like we said, it can take you off mission.
Well, my objective for showing you that was to basically state this: money doesn't make you something different. Right. It exacerbates who and what you already are. And that's all I was saying about the other stuff. Even if you took away that humility and this and the other, and you inverse people's characteristics or whatever you are is what you're going to be, regardless of what situation you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to get more of it. That's it. You'll have more of a stage to show what you already are. Elon Musk didn't just become that. He'd already been that.
That was already within him. It was
already within him. Or whatever. I mean, me personally, again, I'm like, I like to sit here and think that, no, man, shit, if I was a billionaire, I'd be doing, I like to think that I'd be doing all kind of different stuff. Hopefully, I would still be reading and hopefully doing this right here. But shit, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know where I would be doing it from. Would I be doing it from Bellevue, Nebraska? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know. I mean, at that point, you got enough money to travel the world, look through any booklet and kind of see what you like. Shit, I might be on the Amalfi Coast in front of the fucking ocean doing this thing and just kind of sitting here talking to you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm about to get on the jet stream and go to, wherever we decide to go. I don't know. Yeah, I might fly one of my favorite authors in and just have a good, fun conversation with them. You know what I'm saying? Again, whoever you are, whatever you do when you're broke is the same type of person that you'll be when you're wealthy and you have money. That's all I'm saying.
Well, and a lot of times people, when they stumble into that success or find that tier of success that they weren't necessarily expecting, or they hit the lottery or whatnot, what happens is there's this weird where now nothing's kind of off limits to you and you can do anything. And some people actually end up missing that having to work to earn stuff. And then that's why you see people get rich, start going on these all these weird, bizarre side missions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They start doing all this weird.
Because they would have already done that, and they would have done it before. They just didn't have the resources in order to do that shit. They'd have done it. Just like Jared Fogle being in the kids. He's always been in the kids. Just nobody ever
Yeah.
seen that side of him. Diddy.
Yeah.
Diddy's always been in the dudes. It's just nobody got to really see that other part of him. But I bet you this. I bet you if you look deeper and deeper into that dude's history, you see some dude like, yeah, I used to mess with him. Or
Well,
somebody
and
like, yeah, he used to mess with me, or this idea, you know what I mean? It's not like nobody knew.
well,
Somebody
and
would have to know.
it's a deeper layer because Diddy was always a predator, right? The money just allowed him to be a bigger predator on a bigger
And,
stage
and that's
with
all
a
I'm
bigger
saying.
with a bigger
He's-
target audience. of
He
people to
always
threaten.
been into that shit. But here's the fun thing. It's not just Diddy that was like that. I was watching I think it was on VH1. Remember that show? I don't think it's on anymore. But they used to talk about all these entertainers and stuff, right? But I remember that they had one on there about Ted Nugent.
Oh yeah,
And Ted Nugent,
was a
he
scumbag.
said on multiple occasions he was not into drugs, he was not into alcohol, he wasn't into nothing like that. His addiction was women.
Mhm.
And when I say women, girls.
Yeah.
And when I say girls, I'm like 16, I would say 17 and under.
Mhm.
The same thing that R. Kelly was doing. He was doing, and here's the other crazy shitty thing. He actually, one of them, he married them.
Yeah.
Same shit that R. Kelly got accused of, did whatever. Ted Nugent did the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, he married to her. He adopted her.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he married her. He adopted her so he could fuck on her.
Yeah.
That you ain't got to take my word for it. Go look it up
Yeah.
yourself.
And I can't.
That's the honest to God truth. That came out of his mouth and her parents' mouth.
I can't say.
Elvis did the same shit.
I can't say what my thoughts are about R. Kelly or Ted Nugent or Elvis without risk of getting our stream knocked down and disappeared. But these guys were always who they were. A predator is going to be a predator, regardless of whether they have money or not. And that's why I always go against the Hollywood elites and all this other stuff. Listen, when we talk about sex trafficking, and I know this because I've been in the workshops, we were talking about this stuff in 2011, 2012 when I was running my shelters and stuff. The sex trafficking scene, and especially when it comes to kids and stuff, people have this, it's all the Hollywood elites and everything. The people you need to worry about is that couple down the street.
Right.
Because they are the
inconspicuous couple.
They're the ones that are out there doing it. And so you are fixated on the famous people, but you're not looking at your boilerplate normal people, which are the biggest
next door neighbor,
which are the biggest propellants of this. I met a couple years ago. This is a couple years ago. Well, this is when I was still doing doing the community work and working with kids and families and stuff. I met a preacher. And he was talking about he was on his way down to Tijuana because there's a bunch of Nebraska kids that were down there, and he's going down there to bring them back. And he made that trip multiple times a year, and we bring back dozens and dozens and dozens of boys and girls that disappeared from here and ended up down there. And so people don't understand, we talk all this stuff about how great the College World Series is. It's one of the single biggest sex trafficking events in the country annually.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's really egregious, really bad. But if we're sitting there focusing on Mr. Hollywood guy that we can make stories up about, we can not focus on your regular boilerplate guys that come up here with a bunch of money on College World Series.
So I have to ask, I know this is a little different, but how do they prey on them? How do they disappear in the broad daylight?
Social media, getting groomed. They meet, the thing that's dangerous about social media about social media for kids is anybody could say they're anybody, right? And so one of these little boys or one of these little girls think that there's somebody that's interested in them, and then they set up a time to meet. Next thing you know, they're out of here. Or they fall in love with some grown man or grown woman online. Next thing you know, they're out of here. And so, or they're in the teenage rebellion stage, because that's what teenagers do. Teenagers, the way their brains are developed, the teenage brain develops by testing limits and seeing what the limits are. And so when they're in the natural teenage rebellion stage, somebody intervenes and jumps in there and says, all these people are against you, I'm the only one that understands you. And they end up forming some weird relationship with them, and they're out of here. And by the time the kid realizes what's happening, it's too late. They're in the cartel got them.
Oh wow.
And so when I talk about that, people fixate on the dangers of the Hollywood elites and all this other stuff and all these weird conspiracy theories. Like, you don't need a conspiracy theory because it's happening right here. Normal people, we live on the I-80 corridor. What do you think happens there? And so that's the reality of it. And so
What do you mean by that? The I-80 corridor. What do you mean by that?
We got the corridor, man. Everything comes through that corridor. It's easy for these kids to get disappeared off of that because we're at the junction of multiple interstates.
Okay.
And so that, that's what that is. And so people don't understand how close it is to home. They can always outsource it and think it's just what rich people do. And it's not. It's normal people living on your block. And you
right.
need to be aware of who and where your kids are and stuff.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think that like 80 and like single, like whole digit numbers run from east to west, whereas it usually like 75, 85, 45, stuff like that runs north to south.
Right.
So what you're saying is that I-80 corridor that runs damn near the whole country.
Right.
All the way through. And then just stopping off at one of the fives. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And these kids get caught up in
they can end up anywhere.
And what I'm saying all that to say this, people assume that this stuff is always external to where they live or their community or their bubble. And they don't know how close this stuff really is. And it's not to fearmonger or anything, but it is to give people a perspective about all that, all the uproar, all the save the children and the sex traffickers and all this other stuff. You're focusing in the wrong places. You're attributing that to what somebody's political ideology is or what their money says, as opposed to what they actually do. You're not looking at the person. You're looking at a specific type of person in your mind that does that kind of stuff. And a lot of times that type of person, like, people that are super unstable and violent and dangerous are really good at being normal. They're really good at acting normal
right.
and mixing it. Serial killers are amazing at acting like normal people.
All right.
That's what makes them good at their job.
Right.
And so those surface level assessments of people get people in trouble all the time. I'm going to make this pivot back to the mission statements in some way, shape, or form. I'm just going to figure this out. But when we make surface level assessments of people based on just the eyeball test, we miss a whole lot. And so when it comes to your mission statement, when it's a surface level assessment, it can apply to anybody. And so that's why we talk about having a specific but big mission statement to accomplish your goals.
Very specific mission statement.
Like serial killers have a very specific mission statement.
I'm sure they do.
But
don't get caught.
Yeah, don't get caught up. So
all
right, so we ready to wrap this up?
I think so, man.
Okay.
I think that as soon as we start talking about serial killers and shit, I think we're done. I think we're good.
All right, y'all. So I don't know what we're gonna. I think I have a couple of ideas what we could talk about next week. Fearless may have some ideas. We'll chop it up and figure out what we're gonna talk next week. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure that if you got questions, take advantage of these free times. We're on a couple hours on Tuesdays. Fearless is on every single night for a couple hours. I'm on every Monday and Monday afternoon for a couple hours. Tune in, ask us, pick our brains. We want to interact. We want to answer questions, and we want to be a service to you. But the only way we can be a service to you for free is by you logging on here. Way to circle back.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I try. But take advantage of stuff while we're giving it to you for free, y'all. That's all we're saying.
That's it.
Because we want to help, but the only way we can help is if you raise your hand and identify yourself. So that's all we got for the Trial and Error podcast. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you later. Peace. All right, let me go ahead and run this exit.